Big headlines, packed stage, and the Bitcoin 2025 conference promised to be the most important crypto event of the year. But as the lights dimmed in Vegas and the buzz started to fade, one could sense an air of disappointment. Presidential announcements and bold international plays were met with an all-too-familiar dip in the market, and a growing sense that Bitcoin itself got pushed to the sidelines. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's unpack what really happened in Vegas and what it means for Bitcoin going forward. Hi, I'm Nate Martin, and this is the Bitcoin Effect. The biggest headline of the conference came fast and from the top. President Trump took the stage and announced the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, not a proposal, not a pilot, an executive order signed and active. The reserve will be funded with Bitcoin already in the government's hands, mostly assets seized through criminal investigations. Those coins won't be sold. They're being treated as long-term national assets, right alongside gold. The order also calls for budget-neutral strategies to grow the reserve without dipping into taxpayer funds. And in a surprise twist, he introduced a separate digital asset stockpile for Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and a few others. It was the boldest Bitcoin policy move ever made by a sitting U.S. president, and it set the tone for everything that followed. But if Trump's move felt sudden, it didn't come out of nowhere. Just last year, Senator Cynthia Lummis stood on the same stage and pitched nearly the same idea, but from a very different angle. Her proposal, the Bitcoin Act, would have created a strategic Bitcoin reserve through legislation, and instead of using seized assets, it called for the U.S. Treasury to buy up to 1 million Bitcoins over 5 years, a massive long-term bet. The coins would have been locked up for at least 20 years with quarterly public reports and independent audits to keep things transparent. States could even opt in and store their own Bitcoin with the feds. While Lummis's plan was ambitious, structured, and accountability first, it never made it through Congress. Trump's plan? More immediate, more pragmatic, and now, officially, national policy. If Trump brought the headlines, then Vice President J.D. Vance brought the energy. His keynote was easily one of the most unapologetically pro-Bitcoin speeches we've ever seen from someone in office. He called Bitcoin a hedge, a shield against inflation, reckless spending, and centralized control. And he didn't just talk the talk, he confirmed that he owns Bitcoin personally, and he's holding. But his speech wasn't just about Bitcoin. Vance also used the spotlight to promote the Genius Act, a proposed regulatory framework for U.S. stablecoins. He framed it as a way to protect innovation and solidify the dollar's role in the digital age. Clear rules, full backing, no backdoors. It was a strong message, but for some in the room, it marked a quiet pivot, the start of a broader conversation where stablecoins began pulling attention away from Bitcoin. The Bitcoin momentum didn't stop with the U.S. From across the world, new players stepped up and didn't hold back. First, Pakistan. In a move few saw coming, Bilal bin Saqib of the Pakistan Crypto Council announced plans to create a national Bitcoin reserve. But they're not stopping at just holding Bitcoin. The government is dedicating 2,000 megawatts of power to support Bitcoin mining and AI infrastructure, a bold signal they're thinking long-term and playing for keeps. Then came Nigel Farage, leader of the Reform UK party, who took to the Vegas stage with a message aimed squarely at London. His pitch? Make the UK a Bitcoin and crypto capital. He proposed a 10% capital gains tax on crypto, lower than anything in the US, and even floated a Bank of England-backed Bitcoin reserve. Oh, and by the way, Reform UK is now accepting Bitcoin donations directly on their campaign site. Two countries, two very different strategies, but a shared recognition. Bitcoin is already a global asset, and nation-states, well, they're beginning to treat it like one. The speaker lineup this year was stacked, and some moments hit harder than others. The most powerful moment? Easily, Ross Ulbricht. Freed just months ago after serving over a decade behind bars, Ross took the stage for the first time since his presidential pardon. It was emotional, personal, and deeply grounded in the values that brought many of us to Bitcoin in the first place. He talked about freedom, about decentralization, about unity, and he warned that if Bitcoiners allow themselves to become divided, the whole movement weakens. His words hit different because he paid the price. Then came Michael Saylor, who delivered his 21 Ways to Wealth talk, a rapid-fire case for Bitcoin as the ultimate store of value. But he also used the moment to clear the air. Strategy, a rebrand moniker for what was once MicroStrategy, is not becoming a Bitcoin bank. They're a Bitcoin development company, and they're staying laser-focused on that mission. Jack Mallers unveiled Strike's newest offering, Bitcoin-backed loans, from $10,000 to up to $1 billion with competitive interest rates for individuals, institutions, even governments. It's an ambitious attempt to turn Bitcoin into usable financial collateral on a global scale. And then there was Hester Pierce, aka Crypto Mom. In a quiet but meaningful fireside chat, she acknowledged that regulators have been slow and that it's time to rethink how the SEC approaches innovation. And of course, it wouldn't be a Bitcoin conference without a price dip to close it out. Just after the final speakers wrapped up and the crowd started clearing out, Bitcoin slipped just below $105,000, a move that felt all too familiar. The headlines were bullish, the policy announcements were historic, and yet the price dropped anyway. Analysts blame global tensions, broader risk-off sentiment, and good old-fashioned profit-taking. But if you've been watching for the last few years, you probably saw it coming. In 4 of the last 5 years, Bitcoin has either stalled or slumped during or right after its biggest annual event. From Miami to Nashville to Vegas, the pattern's pretty hard to ignore. Some call it the conference curse. Others say it's just the market doing what markets do. Either way, it happened again. For all the headlines, the energy, and the high-profile speakers, not everyone left Vegas feeling bullish. Among longtime Bitcoiners, there was a different vibe. Many expected this to be a celebration of Bitcoin, its principles, its progress, its place in the world. Instead, the schedule leaned hard into stablecoins, regulatory panels, and tokenized finance. Meanwhile, core topics like privacy, self-custody, and decentralization barely made the agenda. On X, the reaction came fast. Posts and threads from respected voices in the space shared a common thread. This didn't feel like a Bitcoin conference. It felt like a crypto expo, flashy, political, overfunded, and somewhere along the way, Bitcoin got pushed to the sidelines. So what do you think? The Bitcoin 2025 conference promised to put Bitcoin front and center, to highlight freedom, decentralization, and sound money. Did it deliver on that promise? Or did those priorities get lost in the noise? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you, the people actually paying attention to what matters. And if you want more no-fluff breakdowns like this one, go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next drop. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.